Good afternoon and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. My name is Maria. I'm a youth coordinator at SOC and I will be your host for today. Just give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking guests. Muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos a 3 en Punto con SOC. Mi nombre es María y soy la coordinadora del grupo de jóvenes con SOC. Hoy nuestro programa es en inglés, pero ofrecemos traducciones al español. Para escuchar la traducción puede llamar al número que aparece en la pantalla, que es 646-749-3122, y la contraseña es 779-328-221. Okay, so we're going to continue with our show and with some other reminders. There's a link to our past recorded episodes on our Facebook and YouTube page, so feel free to check those out. I also want to take a moment to give a shout out to our staff helping today, which are Marlene and Travis. Marlene is producing and Travis is doing comments, so thank you. Another reminder to complete our SOC survey, and we want to hear your thoughts and opinions on our forum. We're also open to any suggestions or topics you'd like to see on here. All of the SOC staff is working virtually from home, and that is why you see us on the screen without masks at this time. Although we are working from home, SOC is still here for you. You can reach us via email at soc@socmilwaukee.org or call us at 414-672-8090. And you can also check out our website at socmilwaukee.org. Lastly, I'd like to share a disclaimer that the views and opinions shared today do not necessarily reflect those of SOC. Before I continue with our announcements, I'd like to invite you all to comment just so that we can get an idea of who is all with us today. So we have I'm sorry, I accidentally kicked myself out of the forum. But we have Lyra saying hi, Kimberly, Ariana, Isaiah, and Jasmine, hey. And then we have Maria saying tomorrow is in Spanish. She said that in Spanish. So yes, María, mañana el programa es en español, pero puede escuchar la programación de hoy, que es en inglés, la puede escuchar en español al número 646-749-3122. Y la contraseña es 779-328-221. Y está en los comentarios también. So I just told Maria that she can also tune in Spanish, and it is on our comments there as well, the phone number and the password for it. Okay, so we're going to continue with some announcements. Today is our youth organizing day. For our special segment, we will have a pre-recorded interview with Dr. Patricia McManus from the Black Health Coalition. Before we move forward with our interview, I'd like to go over what the rest of the week looks like for our forum. So Wednesday is our Spanish Day, and we'll have our topic being Walker Square Farmers Market Update. Thursday is our COVID-19 Day, and the topic for that day will be breaking down misconceptions about the COVID-19 vaccine and how to register to get the COVID-19 vaccine if you are in the Phase 1A group. And then Friday is our community organizing and leadership. So we hope you can all join us for the rest of the week and get more information from all the amazing guests we have booked. So we're going to continue with our guest segment. We will be showing you an interview that I had this morning with Dr. Patricia McManus from the Black Health Coalition. Hi, everyone. So for today's special guest, we have Dr. Patricia McManus from the Black Health Coalition. Welcome, Dr. McManus.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here with us. So let's just start off by asking you a little bit about the Black Health Coalition. How and specifically why did it get started?
Okay. In 1984, we're going way back, you weren't even thought of by then, 1984, we had the Hyatt open downtown, and the community had a Black community meeting there. And so I was asked to come and kind of lead to things around health. They had it broken off in different sections of things that you should look at. So out of that meeting, the people who were there in the community, we had a pretty good crowd too. They were just, the main thing we heard was, we never know what's going on. And then when they tell us, we still don't know because nobody explains it to us. And so it was very clear that education was very important. And then but the other thing we heard was some of their concerns about the healthcare system and what they thought. So advocacy was the two main things. And so what we did was, a group of us like, my background is nursing. We had a physician, a pharmacist, social worker, group of folks that got together in my basement, because I tell folks the first card we had my address on it, so we could figure out how to get things going. I was teaching at Marquette at the time, teaching community health, nursing to nurses and stuff like that. So it gave me kind of a little bit of freer time, because you kind of can rotate around your own schedule a bit more. So that worked out pretty well. So we did that, and we started pulling together information, and we would try to get to different places that was having information for communities. So we actually, first and last one that they had at Capitol Court, we were there, and we were passing out information, and we laughed sometimes in terms of people that were there, because back then, the HIV phenomena had just kind of hit, and so so we had information on that. And it was amazing when I think about how it is now, because then if we would tell people that, this was going to tell you about HIV, I mean, they literally would drop the paper, like the virus was on the paper. I mean, that's how people thought about it then, not that you don't have people thinking about it now, But so that's what got us started. And then we finally were able to get a grant, and we opened our first office. And within that time, our main issue, and it's for any people of color living in Milwaukee, you never get over needing to do advocacy and education. Those are just, so that was it. But we were able to get grants because of my background in healthcare. We were able to get some healthcare grants, actually started working around infant mortality. And that was really the first time that we worked directly with the Hispanic community, because the area that we put in for that federal grant included the South Side, near South Side. So that was our first time, not our last, but really our first time really working in depth. So we had both Hispanic and African-American families that we work with. And so I kind of tell people now, our overall area still is education and advocacy, but again, depending on what grants we are able to get, we've adjusted. And I do a lot of training. I do a lot of training across the country, actually, on trauma and stress, and I'm nationally trained on domestic violence. So those kind of things kind of mix through it, but we really kind of just make sure that we try to meet when people come in, or they get called, or we get called a lot about child welfare, because we do a lot in terms of advocacy for families that had their children taken away or about to take away or whatever. And so that's about 10 years. We do a lot of education. Until COVID, we work with the nurse midwife in the county jail, and we would go in and see pregnant women and make referrals for them. And we also would go into the House of Corrections and provide training and education to men and women. So that's obviously slowed down to where it has with everybody else, but that's kind of in a nutshell, kind of tell you where we are and where we still are. We still are very much believing in advocacy and treating people right. We've had grants that we had a multicultural grant we got from the States, and so it was a grant on smoking, and we worked with UMOS, we worked with WACMA, we worked with the Indian Great Lakes, the Indian tribe in the North. So that was one of the best things that we did, that I really enjoyed, having all four of the groups together, and even though Milwaukee had the most people, I didn't do it that way. I just took the money and I divided it evenly among all four groups. Not like, of course, it gets more because they got more, whatever. And that just worked out so well. I really wish we could do something like that again, I think we get to learn from each other and figure out what's going on. Yeah. So that's That's it.
I was gonna just going off of what you've mentioned so far.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts, based on your experience, on some of the most pressing issues concerning like the health amongst the Black community?
Well, for one thing, and I look at this in any community, but clearly the Black community is making sure that people understand that health, because health isn't seen as things that you got to do in terms of making sure people have a place to live, have enough to
Mhm.
eat, that how they're treated. Those are all things that can affect how you live and affect your life and everything. And so, but for the Black community, clearly the historical uh, trauma that we've had from living here, being in least the way we came, the way we still been treated, and you have people who want to ignore it like that doesn't exist. It still exists, and I think that's so. Then if you got somebody telling them in the schools, oh well, yeah, that was 400 years ago, and everything's fine now, then they put that away and don't understand why they're still treated the way they are or why they feel the way they do. Even when I know you understand, even when people don't say anything, you can still get a sense of where they are. I think sometimes that is even worse because it's not talked about, it's not dealt with as much as somebody just calling you the N-word, when you're around or something like that. Sometimes at least you're like, okay, yeah, we know what you are, we can do. But these folks that, one thing I talk about is implicit and explicit bias. And I tell people, I said, I do, because the implicit bias in some ways is worse than explicit, because even the way it's defined, people don't know what they're doing and how they address people and how they think about different people. And that's even worse than, I can deal with straight up racist a lot better, because I'd be like, because they don't bother me. Yeah, what you got? What you gonna say? You know what I'm saying? So those things within the Black community, they're still so they're there, and you would think 2021. But I deal with transportation is another issue. Living where we do in Wisconsin, because we kind of, I know my dad used to say, like, well, we're surrounded. We got Lake Michigan on one side, and you got all these cities and suburbs, and the rest of the way around, that you're just kind of trapped there in terms of where people don't understand who we are, or they make a decision about who we are. And then, so there's no, I mean, we're one of the fewer, even to this day, that doesn't have mass transit, that would get people out to the suburbs to work. And I'm sure some of these things are, that I'm talking about, relate to your community as well. But where people can get out to work. They don't have that at all. We don't have that because those counties have all locked it in. They don't want any people of color, especially the Black ones, not by degree or whatever, but they just have this view of who they think poor people are, whether you're Black or not, and people of color. And so they have that in their mind, and they want to make sure that they don't do anything that would allow, quote, people to come out there and live, so but that's where the jobs are that they can get, because all the other jobs in the city, they come into the city and take those jobs and go back to the suburbs, so and try to get people just to understand those kinds of things. I think I've been more, not pleased, because it still meant people died, but I think in terms of what happened to George Floyd and other people, it's a little bit refreshing to finally see it all over the world, that people are realizing what that structural racism is. And I think that, like I said, to get back to your question, the structural racism is the hardest for people to believe, but those are the ones that are usually in those positions, those power positions, that have to make it change. And if they don't really think that it's there, let's do a little here and a little. No, you can't do a little. You got to do a whole lot more. So that's the struggle.
Yes, definitely agree. Going back to just a little bit more about the Black Health Coalition, as your role as president and CEO, what does that look like for you?
Well, I used to have a lot more hair. No, I'm kidding. I've had more so short for now. I can't even remember what I had, a whole lot of hair. Maybe when I was still married, that might have been, but it's been this way. But certainly, it binds into, because I like I said, I was one of the people that actually got it going. We'll be celebrating our 33rd year in October, and I've been the president all this time, which was not what I was thinking about when this got started. Believe me, I did not think that at all. But it works, I guess. I'm a person who believe that although I do my once in a while, I'll be like, okay, Lord, I thought we were friends. What have you got me into the middle of? That's my personal conversation with him. Like, but it always works out so far. He's got me there because I guess he feels I know what to do in those cases, so that it still allows me to look at things that are happening, make recommendations, talk to my board, and my board's great. They really do support us, and the advocacy, especially in a city like Milwaukee, you're gonna like I know I can't get any money from the city anymore because the mayor doesn't like what I said when I was the health commissioner for those few months. I don't know if you realize that or not, that I was the health commissioner of the city.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they drugged me. I went in kicking and screaming, and it was just like I thought. I mean, except for the people in not the administration of folks in big jobs, they all have, most of them have issues or whatever, but the people that are just working day to day, I just ran into I just met just some nice people. I gotta tell folks now that I have what I call my multicultural underground railroad. So yeah. I still know what's happening over there, even though I'm not over there anymore, because I just you just treat people like people. And it's amazing how much because they were trying to, I'm like, no, because even when this other woman left, and that's a whole other conversation, I get these calls and I'm like, no, I think I'm where I should be, because I'm able to do what I need to do in terms of advocacy. I'm able to get other folks. I love helping people help themselves, not just helping people, but having people help themselves. And that's what the coalition does. So I think that's the reason why. And I think maybe I make it too easy because I've offered a few times for people in the community, don't you guys want to come in and take this job? And they're like, oh no, you're doing just fine. You stay there. So I kind of think that, yeah, I guess that's true. That's kind of where I am. So yeah, I think the coalition, like I said, we struggle with getting funds, but we also, but I can't get funds and then be untrue to what I know my responsibility is to the community. We have a grant now from the state to talk to people about vaccine. What we did was we created what we wanted to do with the grant, but it's not a grant to tell people that you got to take that vaccine. I mean, no. What you got to do is give people information, and then you got to trust that they are going to make the right decision, whether you agree with it or not. So that's the first thing I tell folks is that no, we don't tell people you have to take the vaccine. If they come and they're talking, because we're doing these educational sessions, so if they say they've heard something or it's a myth or something, then I tell them that. I make sure they get the right information. But as for telling them that you need to, and then they ask me, well, are you taking the Dr. McManus? I said, well, I'm kind of looking at it. It's getting better. I said, but I had to go learn for myself, because a lot of those things weren't really myths when you're looking at, when the thing's going so fast. This the warp speed, as they said, this is not going out into space here. This is people's lives. So thank God that he's gone. But people, I know people have a lot of trust in me because they know the way I am. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to tell them something that's true. I'm telling them straight up. And that's one. And so I'm not driven by the politics or the politics that people have. So I've earned that respect, and that's very important to me. So I think that's another reason why I haven't just run up, but I'm still able to do other things. We're able to I still go and travel, I'm not traveling at all now, but I was able to travel more and, and go other places and teach, especially on trauma and of stress, because there's a lot about that, especially again, communities of color, that has not been looked at, at all. And so then they don't explain to other people what's going on. And we talk to them and say, well, you feel this way because, when I talk to them, and they'll be like, oh, okay. Everybody doesn't have to go to a therapist. I have great respect for therapists and psychologists, but that isn't what it is. Sometimes it's just understanding the daily life and living, especially in Milwaukee. Especially in Wisconsin, period, but certainly in Milwaukee, where it's so hard for people of color to really do what they want to do. Because you got to almost make them, almost have to make them believe that you're not going to say something when they're doing something wrong. And you can tell people things, concerns about that they need to know. You know, when we had our infant mortality grant, and as I mentioned, that was a grant we did with Hispanic folks because the infant mortality group, at that time it was larger, you know. But just quickly, but we thought I was really proud of myself because we had an interpreter, you know, we made sure things, everybody, you know, get things done right. You know, I was really proud. And then one of the ladies came up, she said, Dr. McManus, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. She said, I think that there's some things that we just like to see a little bit different. And I was like, oh, okay. I was thinking I was doing pretty good there. I mean, we had the minutes in Spanish, and we had the agendas in Spanish, and da. And what she said, I really can't, but I could find her name. I can't remember what her name was, but she said, what she said to me was that, she said, they appreciate having the interpreter, but it stopped them from really being able to participate because they had to use all their energy to listen to the interpreter. Yeah. I mean, I never thought of that. And I'm like, oh. I said, okay. I said, and then after that, I just said, well, I said, okay, so what do we need to do? I mean, it was clear. If I missed that, then we missed the other stuff. And so it was great. So we were able to have because we had a committee, and it was primarily Black folks on the committee, because the majority of the people we were working with the grant were Black. But of course, they were like, why they got to have their own committee? I said, y'all know who you sound like, don't you? But then they started laughing. Okay, Dr. McManus, I said, come on. But it was wonderful because getting that and then understanding, then they would do plays, they would do other kind of stuff. They just freed them up to do it the way they needed to do it. And then they learned a lot about us, you know, right. and how we were. And so I always felt really good about that. I was sorry when, I don't know if we did too good a job or not, but the second time we got our grant, we couldn't include them because their mortality rates had gotten so much better. We couldn't include them at all. But I do think that learning, you know, opening up, not thinking that you know it, and this is what I'm talking about when people think they know everything about somebody or a group, you know, like I've done the thing I do on trauma and stress and stuff like that. What I did was show them what happens in terms of stress for people in general. But then I showed them what we do for African Americans, how we deal with stress and what happens. And then what I left them with, now you guys adjusted for you. I can't, because among the American Women's Group, among folks. And I said, so what you take it based on your history, your values. And they love doing that rather than folks coming and just telling people because they think they know everything that, you know, it's been a learning experience for us in a number of ways. And so, anyway, that's that. I talk too much, but
no, you're good. They're all interesting stories.
So okay, but anyway.
Yeah. So you did speak about one of the programs, and I saw the acronym for it. It's MBIP. Is that the immunization?
The immunization. It's the Milwaukee Black Infants and Milwaukee Black had infants so long. Milwaukee Black Immunization Project. And as I said, what I did when I created that, it's got 3 objectives, and what it does, the first one is we're offering these educational sessions. And they're 2-hour sessions, but I talk for 1 hour, maybe 1:15 if I really get going. You know, I'm probably gonna, you know me by now. You know, I'm gonna topic. But the second hour is like a focus group where we just open it up. Everybody they're in an environment where they can say and whatever they want to, you know, and feel comfortable at it and that kind of thing. And then so that's the 2. And then the third one is to take some of those folks who have this educational session and do a 4-hour, like a trainer or trainers. Because what I'd like to do is actually get people jobs in the community, maybe get the state to fund some jobs where you got people now who know what's going on, they, you know, that they can be great out there talking, that they feel comfortable doing what's going on. And so we've got about 18 people that have signed up for that. And hopefully, because they're supposed to be getting some more, quote, CARES money. And I guess I'd like to get some to see if we can, even if it's part-time, especially with the way this whole thing has hit our communities, you know, that get folks to even do that. But I think that anytime you get somebody to feel good about themselves because they're learning something, they can help somebody, that's got to help the stress and the trauma I'm talking about all the time. And the last thing is, the fourth one is to actually create a coalition, an immunization called Black Immunization Coalition. where it could be tied to the state, and the state, they funded us, so they must agree to it. That's not just now, or like when everything else is over, although everything that's going on now, I got a feeling we got COVID and all those variants that's around now, that it's going to be critical for a while. I was thinking, most folks I think were thinking in public health that maybe by the end of this year, we could maybe see, light. But now with these variants that come across from all these other places, it's going to be easily another year or two before it really settles down. But this is a way to have a link with, because it's still, they're always talking about, well, Black people don't want to get and Tuskegee was so far long ago. Why are they still like this? Because they hit the system every day. If nothing else, I know that because I don't go walking into places. I make sure I don't go walk into places. That's not me anyway, saying, quote, who I am and what I know. I just sit back and just wait for them to act up. And I report them. I expected the advocacy again. I'm just like, I give them their chance first. I don't just jump out and but I'm like, well, I had my knee replaced 2 years ago, and it was horrible. And then I read the paper on Facebook, this woman on Facebook she was a physician. I don't know if you heard about her or not, but a physician, and she was in for COVID, but I mean, they treated her terribly. And she ended up dying that first week in December or something. And I'm listening to her saying how they accused her of being a drug addict, and I'm thinking, that's what they did to me. I'm reading this and like, that's what they did to me when I was in the hospital here. Well, maybe the hospital, but the hospital here, they did that to me. But see, unlike the average person who they know they can just do this stuff to, they got the wrong person. Of course, they could have told they used to put me on some kind of list of important people when it came out, just to make sure they do everything right, because they know if it wasn't right, I was going to say something, especially if it's on me now, but that's what I had them doing. I told my cousin, I said, don't send me one of those one-page letters that y'all send to people, we understand the experience wasn't good and da-da-da, which means they ain't done nothing. So that's what I told them. I said, no, I want this investigated, because they treated me like this, they treated other Black people like this, and they'll probably treated other people like that, period. We just get the worst of it. And sure enough, about 3 weeks later, I got this 6-page letter, but they had gone in, they'd investigated. And so without legally getting themselves in trouble, they basically said that it did appear that there was some discrepancies, as they called it, and how people were treated based on their race or based on their economic condition, But this woman was laying up there and she was so sick already. I was just like, see, and they don't, nobody, people don't believe it. Oh no, they're just complaining. They don't know. We know how people treat us.
Which is like, what do you do in those situations? You knew how to act because of your background and your experience in your career, but if you're just a regular person, how do you deal with that?
Right, that's it. Exactly. And that's, I'm glad you asked about that, because that is part of it right now, because we don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of staff I used to have and stuff like that, but we still, blessed, I love my staff. They work full time, but they only get paid part time because that's the money we have. But that is really one of the other things that I want to do, is to train folks on what to do when you're in those situations. Because what they do then is they get mad, or, like those tend to cuss, I know, but they would cuss somebody out because they're mad. And that's what that gets them to see what they did. I said, you got to figure out how to play. So that's really next. I was starting to do that when COVID hit. And then, and now we're doing this, but I really want to do that, to explain what to do when you're in a situation like that. And then again, even though we're called the Black Health Coalition, we help anybody that calls us and it's a problem. We help them. So I always let people know that, because we will, and we'll pick up the phone in a minute. I will, and call, or because, and you got folks who, just with the implicit again, you got people who just downright, they know what they're doing, but you got other people who really don't know that there is that implicit there. I tell people that's many years ago, when I first graduated from nursing school, and I was working in county's ICU, and young lady, she and I, we ended up working almost all the nights together for about 2 years. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, she goes one night and she says, Pat, I like working with you so much, I forget you're Black. And I'm kind of looking like, and I obviously, my look, I mean, because she really, really was a very, very nice person, you know.
Yeah.
But it shows you how even folks who are, it's what the environment is, you know. And so, but anyway, but I said, okay, Rosie. And she was this Rosie, really Rosie the redhead. I mean, she had this red, flaming red hair, but she was really, but she saw, she said, oh, I said, well, no. I said, well, I'm glad you told me that because I don't ever want you to forget I'm Black. So I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong, you know. And she said, oh, now I know you're teasing me. I said, but no, because, and I did, I could understand. I knew that wasn't her because I'd worked with her long enough to know what she was really like, you know, but it also tells you how much more of that information and needs to be there for people to understand how to do that. So, but yeah, so I use a lot of my own experiences when I teach because I've been around a while now. And a lot of it has to do when I was teaching in Marquette, I was working with the students of color, advocating for them, helping them if they had trouble with a teacher or professor, whatever. I worked because, matter of fact, that's what I wanted to do there. I mean, I taught classes too, but I always thought it was important that we should be doing more than just the students. And so we had a student organization, students of color and all this. The next dean that came in, of course, got rid of all of it. She didn't see any reason for it. You know, I was on the admissions committee too, and anybody who had a Hispanic name, you know, they referred for English lessons. And I was like, wait a minute. when they come from oh man, that's some of that thing. Hey, just a minute, let me cut this off. When I said we've had people coming over here from France and Germany and everything. You haven't talking about referring them, but this person has a Hispanic surname, so all of a sudden they need help, and they kind of look like, oh God, we forgot she was here or something like that. You know? But no, I'd straighten that up. No, that doesn't mean they need anything, you know, at all. And then you find out, you can ask them, you can do whatever, but just making that. So that kind of stuff is so, it reminds me, it's just still, in some way, it depresses me on some levels. It's almost like it's still around, you know, even though you're trying to work and do things better, we still have a whole lot of work to do, especially in this city.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely Milwaukee.
So did I talk you to death yet?
No. I'm like, can you speak about the HIV and STI task force? So I know that was like one of your other programs.
Right. That we put that together about 20 years ago now, maybe 25 years ago. And it was during the time when discrimination against anybody with HIV was just rampant, you know, and a lot of folks didn't want to come to the meetings and other people didn't come, but we worked through it because what we did was we were talking about teaching to teach. So we got that group together. They trusted us, they loved us in terms of the way we work with them. And so then when they learned how to do it, then they were able to, and they had friends who wanted to be friends, but they didn't want to tell people that they had HIV or that kind of stuff. So that was I taught a lot of that in terms of what it clearly was, because just because you have it doesn't mean you know everything about it.
Right.
You know, and certainly need to know that to be able to even work with it, especially when it's something that's a clear example of something that they could never create a vaccine for. They tried and it never worked, you know. So yeah, and then we put them in charge of the task force. So we have there's a person who's infected who they run the task force. They're the chair of the task force. They decide what their curriculum is. If there are other things that we know should be there, we just ask to do that. But over the years, I've watched so many of them grow, especially when the RCW was here. We worked with them, and a lot of the folks were, it was a chance for them to learn about them and go into the community and then be, you know, they got jobs now. A lot of them have jobs for the state and stuff who started with us, you know, so we just took a major commitment and a little hit from the Black community. Not everybody wanted to work with people, you know, that had HIV, and you got some folks who are still that way, but not as many. I think we were, because how we did it and folks trust us, they're like, oh, okay, Black Coalition is doing it, so it kind of must be okay. I mean, I think your credibility is always so important. But so we're real proud of that. Okay. It's still needed.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any events coming up? I know that there's like a Facebook forum that you guys do or something like that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Can you talk more about that? or is it just like a video session? Or I'm not.
Well, the face that those are part of that state grant for the.
Okay.
Those are those educational sessions I told
Yeah.
you. Those are that Tuesday and Thursday, because that's what I
What
was
time
telling.
do you have a specific time that you?
They're 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, because I said
Okay.
they're those 2 hours, and we primarily have it for Black folks, but we don't turn anybody away. We did have a young Hispanic gentleman. I have to ask Jim, who works for me. He enjoyed it, and said he would like to have us. I said what I can do, like I think what I told you, obviously with the mom group, I would show you the principles and what we do, and but then help you put it the way you
Right.
know how to do it. That's because too many got folks come in. I had too many folks come in. They don't work with Black people. They're gonna tell them what they need to know now, because you don't know. So how you gonna tell us? So that was one of our ways that we operate. So we don't do that really with anybody. So like I said, I could ask Jim if he has the young man's name, because he was asking if it's a possibility we could do training around the information, to the Hispanic community too. So maybe that would, we're looking to do that. Obviously having again, COVID has blocked a lot, because most of our stuff is always groups, families, and I mean that just really kind of slowed us up, even because even when we don't have money for it, we still would have the groups and stuff. So and then we can't get into the jail anymore. We can't get into where we're doing the training at the House of Correction. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, how has COVID changed your programs? Like,
yeah,
what did programming look like before? What were you guys doing?
but it was before, it was a lot of things we were doing, going to a lot of places or having, because we would have a lot of community groups, because we liked having the kids there, and if it was, the grant we had, we were able to have people come there. We would give them a stipend for transportation. We'd have a place for the kids to do their homework. We'd have the daycare folks there for the babies. I mean, we have food served. I mean, we do all that, and so the folks could just listen and talk about whatever's going on. And so we haven't been able to do that, of course, because even you can do it virtual, but it's just not the same. Even these trainings that we do, that little hour of time that we have, but it does allow people to at least talk or say what they feel or something like that, because you still need to have something in there. But it's changed it, a lot. And then also the advocacy. It stopped us from, going to a lot of places that we could get into. Like we've had ID to get into the jail and get into the courthouse and get into other places a long time, but we can't go in anymore with the clients. And so it's made it a little bit more difficult for us to do our advocacy work, for sure, and some of our education work.
Yeah. Are your staff working virtually from home, or are you guys doing in person?
Well, because it's only 5 of us, and it's we can, the way our office is set out, that we still work in the office, but we still only work like about half time. We work in so they work at home part of the time, and then we work there. And like if we've got to, but we don't have clients coming into the office. So hopefully, but most of them, because you can just still do Zoom, or most people got phones. Right. So we can do that way. But that does, that point of being able to be there in person, and especially with their kids and stuff, having people understand and watch some of these folks from Children's or from St. A's, how they talk to people is just unbelievable. And so I just make sure they don't do that. Not only when I'm not around, not when I'm around, but I'm not around. It's not how you treat people, how you talk to people, but they just, and then they don't even get me started on that. The system is just horrible. It's been horrible. They're taking kids they shouldn't have taken. They haven't given back the kids they should have given back. Some of them just flat out lie. I mean, it's just they have the therapists. They go and tell the therapist what they want them to say, and they all use the ACEs, and everything to justify, well, the kid could be traumatized right there. They take those babies, they lie to the clients, they tell them they're gonna not take their child, but they got a whole system. They have a police, they give, I don't know if you're aware of this now, but they give the police all the names of the people that they're pregnant in there, and then the hospitals. So the hospital, so then they're notified. And then they take the kids right there, but they They lied to them the whole time.
Wow.
And that's even if people haven't been found guilty of anything yet. But that's how it's really, it's inhuman. It's
Yeah.
just how people are treated. So a lot, like I said, we do a lot of work still that we don't get paid for, but that's our commitment to the community.
Yeah.
You know, we don't tell people, well, we can't talk to you because we don't get paid. No, let's see if we can't, maybe we can't help because we can't do exactly what you need, but not for that. But then we find people, you know, to maybe help them and stuff. Because even my staff, they'd have these meetings down at 12th and Delete, and they talk about different, and I would sit there and listen because they would say how, because when it was my turn to talk, I was saying how when I had a lot of more staff, I said, our staff comes down, that many times they'll bring a client down here and they're sitting down there for 6, 7, 8 hours trying to get the client stuff. I said, but what we pay, they get benefits and stuff too. I said, so if they got to go down and get I let them do that on the time. And they're looking at me like, you do what? I said, well, yeah, they're going to sit down with these folks to give them support. You know, I would think as their boss, I'd do the same thing. So yes, that they don't get docked for them going down there. They loved it. They just thought, well, I don't think we can get that done. I said, but it makes a difference what you can do, you know, because then I just, you know, I call it training, or I call it whatever I got to call it. If somebody, but nobody ever questioned it, because it's really true, folks. It's hard working like that, working with people, especially when you lose, because like they take your child or take someone else when you know these are good people who not only people who made a mistake, like nobody makes a mistake, right, but there was at least, I would easily tell you there's at least about 25-30% of the kids should never have been taken in the first place. That's even harder. And they never get their kids back. But we're not some goody two shoes. We've had to turn families in if we thought that they weren't safe and they weren't working with us. We turn them in. So we had to do that. We understand that. But these ones that they do, that they just, oh, she cussed me out, so I'm gonna keep her baby. You know, she don't, what? You know, instead of teaching her what not to do, that's the rationale for taking some, and they got a whole clique there between the some of the judges are beginning to figure this out a bit, but the rest of them, they just whatever they tell them, they believe it, or they use that for a case, and it just breaks my heart, you know, to see that.
I wasn't even aware, honestly, I never thought about that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I can tell you, because even that, you know, if you guys ever need me to come and talk about that or something, just give me a call. I'd be more than willing to.
On the last thing is any contact information. So how do we get in contact with the Black Health Coalition?
Well, just probably the best way to do is call the office, because even we're doing our website, but we're not one that's gets on the website and finds things. So I don't hear people that way, but just call the office. And it's 414-933-0064. For right now, we're usually there in the mornings, but not in the afternoon unless we got something special going on, because we only work half a day or get paid for half a day. So Monday through Friday, that's the best way. Just call there and just leave a message, and we check our voicemails and stuff. So then they check mine because they know I'm always doing something else. So they check my voicemails for me. But that's the best way. It's just call there and just ask me, tell them if you want to talk to me about something and something like that. And
okay,
that's fine.
Sounds good. And then I'm guessing your Facebook page as well, right?
Yeah, we have both. We have a website and a Facebook page.
Okay.
And then I do personal off from the Black Health Coalition. I started in June doing a Facebook Live session and talking about health and talking about other things that are going on. So I've cut back since we got that state grant, because we have to work on getting that done. So I usually do Wednesday and Saturday, but I still do Saturdays at 3:00, and then if it's something really that's going on that I don't want to wait till Saturday, I'll pop up sometimes on Wednesday at 3:00 and ask folks if they know about this. And then I hear folks be like, "Oh, you get," because I guess I heard that folks were really mad when we got this grant. Why? You know, if we work with if the grant is what they want, but they just didn't want me to get the grant. I just laughed. So really, You kind of made my day. Good. You know, so that y'all just go, let them go and do what they got to do. But just, I wouldn't spend any time like that, you know.
Yeah.
Some people do, but they don't know how that affects other things that you do in the community and stuff like that, that you have a concern about how we got, and you can't do what we're talking about. I mean, if they're looking at even before the pandemic, the number of people who weren't getting vaccines and why. And like I said, you can't just tell me what Tuskegee was, you know, 4 decades ago. It's not the same. No, yes, it is, because the reasons that Tuskegee occurred is happening right now. And that's, like I said, that's when I saw that Dr. Moore, I was just like, oh my God. And she got on there and she told it. I guess it's been all over now. So bless her heart, even though she died and everything, but the way she was treated, and that's what's so bad, is that you can look and say, really? I mean, I don't know if that happens too often. If you fit any of those categories, whether you're a person of color, you know, or whether if they think you're poor, I mean, that kind of stuff, or maybe you're illiterate, maybe you know what's going on. What happened to hospitals and stuff? Hospital healthcare period is supposed to be humane and caring, and it's just not that way anymore. It's a business. Healthcare is a business. Yeah. That's another whole conversation we could have one day, but it is definitely a business. It's not about care. So
well, thank you for your time and for all this information and all these stories. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, anytime, like I said, if something comes up that you think I can help with, or just got a question about, just generally, just give me a call.
Okay, sure.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you to Dr. Patricia McManus from the Black Health Coalition for that very insightful and informative interview. We do have the contact information on the comments, so you can call them. They are open right now, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can also check out their website and then their Facebook. They do have like a kind of similar to us, a forum Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. that you can also check out. So next up, we're going to go into our coronavirus update with Marlene. So I'll be showing you a video of Marlene with a COVID update.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC today. My name is Marlene Zaran, and I'm the Public Health Coordinator here at the Southside Organizing Center. Firstly, I'd like to say that, it's been a great January, and it has been a great month since the start of the year until now, because COVID-19 cases are actually dropping within Wisconsin, and things are getting better. In regards to the COVID-19 vaccine, there has, according to the Wisconsin Health Department, I was watching one of their live COVID-19 updates that they also have on YouTube that we will put in the comment section for you to watch for later. There have been 365,000 individuals that have been vaccinated within Wisconsin. There are 69 individuals that have completed their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and 75,000 individuals that are 65 years old and up have been vaccinated. That being said, if you are looking to get vaccinated and you are 65 and up, stay tuned because I will be going over that. But firstly, let me go over exactly who is eligible to get vaccinated during this time. So right now, Wisconsinites who can get the COVID-19 vaccine are those that are frontline healthcare workers, those that are in the nursing home and assisted living residents and staff, those that are police officers, work for the fire department and correctional staff, and those that are adults aged 65 and over. So that being said, I'm going to now show you exactly how you can register to get your COVID-19 vaccine if you are 65 years old and up. Unfortunately, there is a low amount of vaccines, and so if you do register to these 3 platforms that were recommended by Claire Evers through the Public Health Department, then you will be put on one of their lists, and whoever contacts you first, that's the organ, the company that you will go get your COVID-19 vaccine from.
Thank you, Marlene, for that update. And I'm just going to show you quickly a picture here on how you can register for the COVID-19 vaccine if you fall in the 1A group, which includes healthcare workers, firefighters, and police officers, and those that are 65 and over. And then there's another announcement that Marlene wanted me to let you all know, that the Behavioral Health Clinic at 16th Street is opening a new National Avenue clinic. So starting next week, February 15th, they can see patients in their new building. So you can make your appointment today by calling the number that's on the screen, which is 414-672-1353. So next up is our Civic update, and that's a video with information from Gabe.
I'm going to share my screen with you because I've mentioned multiple times on the forum different ways that you can access online meetings and information regarding Common Council information, County Board information. So I'm going to take the opportunity to share my screen with all of you and see what that looks like online. So let me get that up here. Ooh. There we go. Okay, so we have here the City of Milwaukee City channel. And if I just go up to my browser and put in city.milwaukee.gov/city channel, this is the website that pops up. So it'll change up here in the browser, but just putting in that simple website is what will make this pop up. And so you can see here that there will be some different options that show up. This red box right here will take you to the live broadcast of the city channel. So whatever meeting is currently happening, whether it's live or a replay, you can get to it through this red box. So let's try that one first. And you can see that it takes you to the city channel. And this is going to be loading. It's muted right now. But let's take a look at what's playing, because over on the right side, you have the whole schedule of what's happening this week. So it's 3 p.m. right now. It looks like nothing in particularly scheduled. So just things that are in the vault, I guess, is what would be here. But you can see that they have different meetings. So this morning at 9 a.m., it was the Zoning, Neighborhoods, and Development Committee meeting. And you can see for the rest of the week what will be playing. And then also to the right, you can see whether it's live or a replay. So if I keep moving over, you can see here that meeting that happened this morning was live, and then they had a replay of another meeting at 1:30. So that's pretty cool that you can see that. And it has a schedule of the week to let you know what the city channel itself will be showing. So let's go back to this page. And now I'm going to show you this part, the Legislative Research Center. This is where you can go to access the recordings of committee meetings, Common Council meetings, other commission meetings, and then the information that accompany them. So whether it's the agenda, the minutes, and the video recording. So I'll click this. And this brings us to the monthly schedule of many different meetings that happen. So you can see it's in the latest meeting, and then going down is going to go to earlier in the month meeting. So if we go down, we can see all these different meetings. Let's go to today and see what's there. So today, I mentioned from that other website, from the city channel, the Zoning, Neighborhoods, and Development Committee meeting had a meeting this morning at 9 a.m. You can see the time right there. If I click on it, it'll highlight, tells you where it was. And then over here, you have the meeting details. So just a description of what's happening, the agenda, so what you can expect during that meeting, the minutes, and that will give you a very like a summary of the important things that happened this meeting, during this committee meeting. So what was voted on, what passed, what didn't pass, things like that. It'll be a brief summary of what happened. And then of course, the actual video recording. So if I click on these two things, PDFs will open. And then if I click on this, it will be a video recording that you can then watch the entire video of the committee meeting. So this is pretty cool. You can change the way you want to view it. So if you want to do it by week, by this whole year, this month, it's totally up to you. And it's kind of fun to navigate and watch random older videos as well. So I encourage all of you to look at that. Also, just want to take the opportunity while I'm here. This is the City of Milwaukee meeting information. So Common Council, different committee meetings of the Common Council, commissions that belong to the City of Milwaukee, and things like that. But you also, the County of Milwaukee has its own branch of this website, I guess you could say. So if I'm up here in the browser after Milwaukee, I can just type in county, and that's milwaukeecounty.legistrar.com. And then I don't even need the calendar. So it could be milwaukee.legistrar.com or milwaukeecounty.legistrar.com. Hit enter, and then it will bring me to this default calendar page of all of the county meetings. Sorry about that. Ending that call. So you can see all of the county meetings here. So County Board of Supervisors, their different committee meetings of the county board, and all sorts of other commissions as well at the county level. So just wanted to take that opportunity to show you that as well, because there are two different levels of representation that we have for Milwaukee. So this is county. What I showed you before was the city.
Thank you, Gabe, for that information. And the website link is also on our comments if you want to check it out and see any of the videos. Actually, one of the videos I was playing was while Gabe was presenting and letting us know about the website. It was on Phillips, which you're going to hear about now for our SOC feature with Leroy Hope, which he is one of our community youth organizers. So I'm going to show you his video now.
Belle Phillips by Leroy Hope. So who is Belle Phillips? Valvalia Hortensia Rogers, or more commonly known as Belle Phillips, was born in Milwaukee on February 18th and died at the age of 94 in Milwaukee on April 17th. She was a very modest woman. Although she set out to make a minuscule change, she did way more than this. She was instrumental in the fight for civil rights in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and part of the national movement, working closely with Dr. King himself. She was a trailblazer. She was a trailblazer for people of color and women. She was an icon of many firsts. The beginning. She went to high school at North Division High School here in Milwaukee. She later got a scholarship and went to Howard University, where she met and married her husband, and both went to attend the University of Wisconsin Law School. In 1951, she graduated law school and was the first African-American woman to do so at University of Wisconsin. She moved to Milwaukee and she ran for school board and was the first Black woman to win a primary, although she did not win this race. Even though she did not win that last race, she wanted more African-Americans to exercise their rights, and she found herself joining the NAACP. Belle later won a seat on the Milwaukee Common Council and would work to serve the people of her district. In Belle's district, there was a part of the city known as the Inner Core. It was in very rough shape. There were schools and homes that were falling apart, and Black families were not allowed to buy homes in other parts of the city. Fair housing. Belle Phillips set out to fix the issues in her district. She was a lawyer and a public official, and she proposed her fair housing law in 1962. This law would make it legal not to rent to people based off of their color of your skin or race. The other members of the Common Council voted against it again and again for almost 6 years. She participated in protests against segregation, and riots later broke out in Milwaukee in 1967. After 4 people died, people started paying attention to the problems of the inner core. Peaceful protests. Belle marched with Father Grappi and led people for 200 nights. They walked from the inner core all the way across the 16th Street Viaduct and ended in South Milwaukee every night, where finally in 1968, the fair housing law that Belle had drafted 6 years ago finally passed, the Milwaukee Common Council. She was the first African-American woman to become a judge in the state of Wisconsin. In 1978, she made national history, being the first African-American woman to be elected the Secretary of State for the state of Wisconsin. Remembering Belle Phillips. Belle Phillips was a civil rights icon and will always be remembered. The city of Milwaukee renamed one of its most prominent streets, 4th Street, to Belle R. Phillips Avenue. And currently there is a fundraiser going on to erect a statue in her honor at the state capitol. She also has many buildings named after her on the UW campus, as well as the Youth and Family Justice Center, as you can see in the bottom right corner. So even though Belle Phillips was such a prominent icon, and I gave you a lot of information in this very short presentation, I do encourage you to look her up and do some reading yourself, because I did leave out a lot of more information. And for that, I have a short clip for you guys to watch.
She was a woman of all people.
Belle Phillips was a Wisconsin political and civil rights icon. But to Michael Phillips, she was a mom with a mission.
Because she fought for rights. She fought for the ability to speak your mind and to be heard.
Today, you can find her name in many places, including on one of the city's most high-profile streets. There are signs around the city of Belle Phillips' influence and impact here in Milwaukee. But this new initiative is a reminder of the important role she has in Wisconsin history.
There's been so many contributions from people of color in Wisconsin, and my mom would then represent all of them.
Phillips was a trailblazer, the first African-American woman to graduate from UW Law School, the first woman judge in Milwaukee County, and first African-American judge anywhere in the state, the first African-American and first woman elected to the Milwaukee Common Council and to any statewide office, serving as Secretary of State.
Do you think you paved the way?
Oh, yes, of course. It was hard. I tell you, it was hard.
This 2016 interview was one of her last, but her legacy may soon live on at the state capitol.
What would your mom think of this effort to erect a statue in her honor at the Capitol?
She'd be very, very enthusiastic, very much on board. If we can erect her statue at the Capitol, all of her words, all of her ideas will go forward. That's what I'm shooting for. That's the mission.
In Milwaukee, I'm Kent Wainscott, WISN 12 News.
She was always so gracious as well. An effort to raise $250,000 for the Belle Phillips statue launched today. We have a link at WISN.com. A vote on approval for the statue is expected in June.
Thank you, Leroy, for that wonderful presentation. Very informative on Belle Phillips. So next up, I'm going to show you our SOC promo video with Marisol.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take our quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.
So, like it was mentioned on the video, the SOC forum survey is on our comments. So please click on the link and answer the questions and give us your feedback on our forum. We always like to hear what your thoughts are on the forum so far. So before we go, I'm just gonna give you a quick run of our reminders. So Wednesday, tomorrow is our Spanish Day, and the topic will be the Walker Square Farmers Market update. Thursday is our COVID-19 day, and the topic for that is breaking down misconceptions about the COVID-19 vaccine and how to register to get COVID-19 vaccine if you are in the phase 1A group. And then Friday is our community organizing and leadership day. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and we will conclude our forum with our founder and partner thank yous.
I'm Juan. And I'm Mitzi. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show.
And for completing our SOC survey.
In addition to thanking our residents and tuning in and sharing our show.
We would also like to thank our sponsors.
Catholic Campaign for Human Development.
Wisconsin Voices.
City Development Block Grant.
Zebler Foundation.
City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention.
Movement Voter Project. Tide Foundation.
City of Milwaukee Promise Zone.
12th District Alderman Jose Perez.
All the faithful individuals who support SOC
through their personal donations.
Thank you.